form of music and what it stands for. And I believe I have my young lady on the line right now, right here on High Level Radio, Queen MC Lyte.
Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
I am well. Excited to talk to you all. How's it going on that side?
You know what? It's beautiful, and I'm not sure if you heard me kind of express it, but I need to do it again. First off, I want to thank you for calling in to Nexxlegacy's High Level Radio. You are amongst so many people that have appreciated you over the years, and I'm one of them. Being a big fan, it's just like I said earlier on the show. It's kind of like we grew up together, and you didn't even know it. So I have to tell you that throughout the years, listening to your music and being able to be inspired by it, it's definitely a true privilege to be able to have dialogue with you and just to be able to say thank you. You know, so I know you get pulled in so many directions, MC Lyte, so it's just like, you know, I just want to pull you in this direction for about 10, 15 minutes just to say thank you.
Well,
for doing all that
you do. I am with you, and I thank you very much for that acknowledgement. It means a lot to me. So all I can simply say to you is thank you, and your words mean more than you'll ever know.
I appreciate you for that. How are you doing in general? How's life? I know life is keeping you busy, but I know you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm good. You know, I'm having fun with something that I love to do, which is inspiring people by any means necessary, be it music, being speaking engagements, being radio shows. But right now, my focus is in two areas, and that is this election and
Absolutely.
also Hip Hop Sisters, where next week we actually choose the winner for our $100,000 scholarship.
That is beautiful. And, you know, as this station, we've actually been running your commercial, you know, shout out to your team. And, of course, MC Lyte is brought to you by officialmclyte.com as well as hiphopsisters.org. We've been running your commercial a lot, and I commend you for just spearheading this whole Hip Hop Sisters movement of education, empowerment, and the responsibility of it. And I know it's geared towards women. What inspired you to take on such a big role in this challenge of doing this?
Oh, goodness, I just felt like it was necessary. Many years ago, a young lady named Lex Diamond, MC out of Philly, brought up a good point, and that was, you know, all MCs, they want to give advice, but when new artists that are coming onto the scene are faced with having to answer questions but don't really know what the answers are, we are nowhere to be found for them to connect to. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to start a platform that allowed established artists the ability to funnel down information to the new artists that were coming into the game and may have needed some guidance. And so that's Hip Hop Sisters, the artistry side. The foundation side of it I've always wanted to do, and with teaming up with Lynn Richardson, the COO of Russell Simmons' Hip Hop Summit Action Network, it just made sense because we both felt like there was a need in the community. More so with her, it's financial, you know, finances and helping people get their money together. Mm-hmm. But mine is more so with younger girls like 11 through 17 who are right on the cusp of having to make some crucial decisions that will result in whether or not they make it at an optimum level by the time they are adults. And so I just want to be able to equip them with the knowledge that they'll need or better decision-making skills when they're faced with two ways to go. Which way will they go?
Mm-hmm. With and I'm so glad that you actually you fuse there's fusion with the education of our women. Merging into the you know the business of it as well, and this was a question that I tossed out before, and maybe you can be able to answer it. Is the fact that remember back in the day we had we're roughly around the same age, so you know we all had that mentality of it takes a village to raise a child, right? You know, if we had that actual thing going on, if something was going on around and I did something I wasn't supposed to do, the neighbor was going to quickly tell my mama real quick what I was doing that wasn't great. We kind of fell off of that for a little while. Why do you think that is? Because to me, it's just like I always see it as a generational type of thing, and for us to, you know, be to the point where even though it's needed, it's ignored now. Why do you think that is?
Well, first, when you brought it up, the first thing that came to mind is it is dangerous now. It was
very true.
It was easy for someone else to implement some sort of discipline on someone else's child because they didn't fear for their lives, because they also saw that your mother and father, or any variation thereof, was putting in some type of discipline. But now when you have kids whose parents aren't even disciplining them, and then here you come down the block trying to tell them what they can and cannot do, and they whip out a gun on you. Or worse, you know, I think that is worse. But,
no doubt.
You know, who wants to put up with that? So we get into this mentality of mind my own business because I want to live.
That is true.
So really, I feel like the discipline needs to start in the home. And then also, it's okay for parents to communicate with other parents. I think that's what it's about too, because you're sort of giving the word to another parent. Look, if you see my child acting out of order, you know, I need you to put some order in.
Right.
So it's just a community now that's lacking communication between one another. Everyone wants the best for their own child. So I don't see why it would be so difficult for all of us to work together as a team.
Right. So is it more of well, you just said the communication barrier that exists currently versus the generation we grew up in. Do you also think it's the creativity? To me, I think, okay, well, yeah, because it's a lot rougher now than when it was when we were growing up. I think especially if you do want to make sure that your kid is not just safe, but is being not controlled, but you want to make sure that they're doing the right things while they're outside, not in your watch. So do you think we also need to be a little bit more creative in our approach and how we handle it too?
I think you mean as parents.
Yes.
Well, okay, so I'm not a parent. Let's get that one out of the way. So I'm no expert in this field. I'm only just giving some advice for what I believe may help. And that is from the get-go, having your child understand that there are other ways to be entertained outside of a video game.
Absolutely.
Or outside of a computer. And what happens at that point, they gain communication skills, so that if there is something that's going out in the streets that would at some point bring them harm, they may be able to communicate themselves out of a situation. You know, just being able to reason at a social level, I think has, you know, somewhat gone out of the window. Everybody thinks to solve a problem, somebody has to end up lying down on the ground.
That is
and
true.
This is why parents are, I can't even say overly concerned. They're genuinely concerned for their children's well-being and whether or not they'll even make it home from school with all of this bullying and things that are happening on that level. But I think for the most part, it starts in the beginning. It's almost like, you know, you want your child to be healthy, but obesity becomes an issue because on Halloween you let them go out and get all the candy and eat all of it in the same night.
That is true. That is true.
I think it starts at a very early age. I just met an 8-year-old, Justin Bua, the painter, artist, graffiti artist. I just met his daughter, who's been vegan all of her life. She doesn't even know what half of the garbage of this processed food out here is about because she's never had it.
Right.
And he shared that she's never had a cold. And so the reason why I even bring that up is because it started at such an early age, and I think it's about us taking control over what goes in our kids, whether it's in their mouths, in their ears, or what's shown to their precious little eyes, that we pay attention to it from the get-go.
I agree. I took my daughter to a farm with her class, and the feeding the animals and things like that. They had a good time with that. They had no outside world communication, no Xbox, no PlayStation 3, none of that. They had potato sack races. They had the little stilt game that they were playing. They had those grassroots type of games, and they had the best time they've ever had. And I just wanted to say that as an example. You don't need a lot of the communicative stuff. You don't need the computer stuff, or you don't need certain other things. You don't need the TV to have some fun. As long as you're around good company, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing around that company, it goes a long way. And I really think that's true. That is very true.
I appreciate even hearing that story. Yep, that makes all the difference, because what happens is you get people connecting with one another, and then to bring harm to another one, you become accountable.
Right.
Right now, it's easy to bring harm to someone that you don't care about or you don't know about. I shouldn't say easy, but it's easily digested in terms of allowing someone else to be harmed when you are separate from them.
Agreed.
But, taking your daughter out and having her connect in that way to other people, spirit to spirit, is the realization that we all are one.
Yep, absolutely. MC Lyte is my guest, High Level Radio. MC Lyte is also brought to you by hiphopsisters.org and official MCLyte.com, where you can check out our website and all things MC Lyte.
Actually, it's MC Lyte Now. MCLyteNow.com.
Now, absolutely. Thank you for that correction. Love
no
you for
problem.
that.
No problem.
Let me ask you this question about hip-hop. And you came in a culture where it's just like I said, we kind of grew up together. The things that was going on in my life may not have been the greatest of moments personally, but I had your music and your memories of the videos that really kind of carried me through a lot of different things. You speed it up now in 2012, and you compare it to when you first started. How do you feel about the culture of hip-hop in general, as far as just it being from where you came from to the evolution of it right now?
Well, I think, back then it was a sense of community. And we genuinely cared about our listeners and what we talked about and what we put forth as topics, as issues to be discussed. And I think now it's not everyone, not the whole genre, but it feels very singular.
Right.
Feels like the only thing that matters is oneself, as opposed to a community of people. And that's what hip-hop is all about. It's being responsible for your brother.
Right.
And so I think that's missing. But more importantly, I think balance. If we've got all of that, I'm this, I'm that. Because I've had, my fair share of braggadocio. That's what MCing is all about.
Of course.
Yeah, it's also reporting on what's going on in the neighborhood for real.
Right.
And not just this one-sided view of you landing private planes and helicopters or whatever the craziness you do. Like, nobody really cares about that.
No doubt.
I have a song on my app, on a free app called MC Lyte for Androids and iPhones, and it's called Exposure. And I'm talking about that very thing. Like, nobody really cares about all your money. So how about we start talking about things people really care about? That's one. And that maybe if radio and video channels, they're not ready to support a balance, whereas letting that stuff be played, but also finding conscious MCs that are speaking about what's happening today.
Absolutely. How
about we as artists say we'll take it on, and we'll do songs that promote, promiscuity, and we'll do songs that promote parties and drinking and all that. But then we'll also have songs that mean something that can move and propel people into a positive direction.
Right. I just think that the creativity, I mean, there's a lot of creative people out there, and it's just, I mean, you hit that perfect point about there being a balance, because there is no balance, because you look at it for what it is. There's a lot of people out there that is making conscious music, and just want to give a shout-out to Drez of Black Sheep and, Everton, his group. He has a new album out that delivers a lot of that on a lot of different levels, and but it's not heard from, the public may hear it based on his fan base, but, the stranger that didn't know, or that don't have a computer, or that don't have access to what's going on may not know. So it's, spreading good music and having that change. The industry today, fine, but I would like to see another channel here and there. Just don't give us just the same old, correct?
Right. Well, I'm glad that you shared that about the Drez record, because it's up to us on this grassroots level to tell everyone that we know that Drez has a new project out, and it's hot, and it's addressing issues, and it's conscious, and it reeks of responsibility.
No doubt.
So this way we get the word out about what really can feed people, and I think the younger generation knows. They take it for what it is, but I also think that they'd appreciate some music that spoke to them in a way that nobody else is speaking to them.
I agree. Okay, now the one true thing, because you are one of the best female MCs, or MCs in general, to ever do it, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I need your opinion on this, because I love my female MCs. I love them so much that I get upset when I don't hear enough of them, and I get highly pissed when I get to the point where there's so many good lyrical females out there doing better than beyond things that don't get the respect and the recognition they deserve. So when it comes to a female MC now, because when you were at that age, you had, even though the competitive balance reigned with Latifah and Yo-Yo and, etc., you still had your lane. They had theirs. You guys won because of the simple fact that you guys were different, doing it at a good level. What happened to our ladies now? What is it? Is it the men's fault, or the media's fault, or the marketing? What's going on with our female MCs?
I don't know that it's anybody's fault, but I know that there's participation on all levels. From all of those aspects that you just spoke of, whether it be radio, artists, producers, record labels, everybody has some responsibility in it. I don't think it's enough balance on that end as well. But it never, when you think about it, it never really has been, many female MCs at the same time since the golden era.
I agree.
And so because of that, I don't think female MCs just drop out of the sky. They definitely come from a community, and usually they will reflect what's happening in that community. So they're a reflection of the times, the slang that's spoken, all of the things that are in music today. They don't just come from nowhere, like they come from somewhere.
Right.
So, with that being said, I think on the mainstream level, it's all about money, and it always has been. And if a female MC can't move units, then they don't really, the powers that be, the big machines, the big record labels, they don't feel the need. Why spend money in an area where they will not see a return?
Right.
And so it's not vindictive by any means. It's all about that mighty dollar.
And it's funny because it wasn't publicly. I mean, I know you did well with your albums, but it wasn't that public persona that MC Lyte had to sell 10 million to get it. But now I guess you're right in the sense where it is directed towards what have you done for me lately in the media's eyes. But I've never seen, and this is just my opinion because I take music like art. I don't. It doesn't really matter how many you sell. Of course, everybody wants to make a living off doing what you're doing, but to me, if you deliver a conscious album that will withstand any generation or test of time, you won. You won. And I've looked at it like that. And one question I have for you now is, when you look at it now compared to then, or even in the middle or whatever, do you feel like a lot of people are more geared towards wanting to be famous or wanting to build a legacy? Because to me, I think they're two totally different things. You can be famous or superstar in the eyes of some people and not have a legacy built, or you can have one or the other or both.
Well, I think you answered it. I mean, I think in the midst of your question, you kind of stated the definition of both, and
right.
I don't know.
I was waiting for that MC Lyte seal or a stamp of approval on that comment, though. That's all.
Well, I mean, the truth is, this particular time that we're in, there are people who have chosen to be silent about where we are economically, where we are socially, what's happening in our communities, human trafficking. I mean, just things that are so blatantly deserving of some sort of attention from the hip-hop community. When one chooses not to speak about it, it becomes, to me, it becomes like a sort of selling of the soul. Mm-hmm. And when you've decided that you're going to speak of nothing but nonsense because you want to be on the top of somebody's chart, once again, that feels to me like the selling of a soul.
Right.
And so the only person that has to deal with that is the person that's doing it. They have to be able to look at themselves in the mirror, and right now maybe they can, because they're selling lots of records. People are showing up to their concerts that don't necessarily look like us, but they're definitely spending money on these artists.
That is true.
So they have no reason to think they're doing anything wrong. But at the end of the day, can I tell you, it's a cold world.
Exactly.
Somebody's going to have to pay the piper.
And all you have is yourself. And to me, one of the greatest things about you, as MC Lyte is my guest, and before we wrap it up with you, is you won, in my view, because you were like the female version of, it's easy for me to be inspired by you, by how you conducted yourself. Like I said, no one's perfect, of course, but you won in my eyes because not only you just being a very beautiful woman, but lyrically you were dope. You were dope.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of people need to look at that a lot more. You gave so much, with all your songs. I mean, the party songs, the songs that has, conscious messages to it. You have songs that people can be able to look back at generations on in and be inspired by it because of how you delivered it. I mean, you delivered it with so much passion, and you were articulate with how you put it down. I mean, any guy, girl can't help but to respect that. So it's easy for people to be able to do it. So what I'm saying basically is, if you do it right and you own who you are, if you own who you are, there's no way that you can always win that way.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I thank you for all of what you just stated. It's important for me to be able to reach the people in that way, and that's by giving the truth. And so you're right. When someone owns themselves, it's a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. And you can follow MC Lyte on Twitter, and I see you on Twitter, real active on Twitter, at MC Lyte.
I get busy.
MC Lyte is my guest, and I not just want to thank you, but please come back and hang out with me again, and keep us up to date on how things are going with the winners. I know we're going to hit up your website, hiphopsisters.org, because the winner's coming, right? You said next week.
Next week.
Next week. Okay,
absolutely.
So I definitely want to. I want to make sure that I tap into that and just check your website and congratulate the winner and congratulate you and your team for doing a marvelous job at inspiring not just women but men like myself and others that really recognizes real when it's all said and done.
I appreciate you and thank you for the platform. And, yeah, we'll make sure that we get you all the information so you can get it to your listeners.
No doubt. MC Lyte is my guest. I love you dearly.
Oh, I thank you, and I love you back, brother. Thank you for the support.
Nexxlegacy.